Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw, and I'm here with Lindsay Epperly, who's the founder of Epperly Travel, and Julia Piron, who's the founder of Jetset World Travel. And they just made news a little while ago because they have merged. Actually, Lindsay's agency bought Julia's agency, and we're going to find out what the reasons behind that, and what they're going to create together. And you're going to find out about all that and more on Insider Travel Report. Now, first of all, for both of you, how are you and where are you? Lindsay, where are you?
Yeah. Hey, James. Thank you so much for having us today. I am in Columbus, Georgia, my hometown, which is a couple hours south of Atlanta. So very exotic today.
Absolutely. And Julia, where are you?
I am in Aspen, where I reside. So great place to be in the summer.
Absolutely. And we were just talking about that. I'm in New York, where it's going to be about 95, verging on 100. So it's been a strange summer here in New York. But actually, as we've talked about, I've been traveling, so I've avoided most of that. Now, let's talk about this deal for both of you. How did this deal come about? What led to this combination? And was it the result of the pandemic, which has hit travel agencies hard? I'll start with you, Lindsay.
Yeah, I think, well, first we have to credit Dr. Bob Jocelyn. He was our...
Oh, Dr. Bob. Yeah, one of my favorite people, good friend.
So the rest is history, really. All it takes is him. But no, the idea came about. Jeremy, my husband and business partner, and I were in a great place where we decided we wanted to invest in something that would help Epperly Travel in the long run. And we were looking at what opportunities were out there, and the idea of acquiring another agency was top of our list. So when we went to Dr. Bob and we identified, who would be our dream, what would be a great match culture-wise and market-wise, all of it. Jetset was just, we thought that would be amazing. Just not sure what it's going to look like, if Julia would even be interested. And so Dr. Bob was who made the calls, and Julia can take it from there because you received that call. And
let's talk to you, Julia. How did that go about?
Well, Bob and I had been talking throughout the pandemic, and I said that, I was really open to the evolution of Jetset and whatever form that took. So whether it was our acquiring another agency, open to exploring a merger. And when I got the call, I think it was in March, I should know the day. And Dr. Bob said, I think I have the right opportunity for you. And I said, well, what is that? And he said, Epperly Travel has expressed interest in acquiring Jetset, and I have known Lindsay for many years and always held her in such high regard. And I had the fortune of meeting Jeremy at Travel Week through Access. So I knew both of them, familiar with Jeremy, knew Lindsay well. Our team has always held her in such high regard. They were active participants in her Nourish webinars and conversations, early on in the pandemic. And so she's just always been a friend and an ally of Jetset. And we had gotten to know one another through Entre and her endeavors. So it was something that was familiar and felt so natural. I didn't hesitate.
No, that's great. Now, I have to do a disclosure here. I've known both of you for quite some time and watched you as you grew your businesses. I think, Lindsay, I first saw you at a table at a Virtuoso dinner, and to me, you were just still in school. I believe you were still in college.
Yeah, it was my first year.
You just started with independent contract. It was your first year. And Julia, I first met you down at, I think it was in Asta, way back when, and you said I really want to join Virtuoso, and then I believe you joined I think it was Travel Experts. Yep. And I got a key lime pie out of the deal, so that was a good deal. That was lucky duck. Yeah, well, that's I always get a key lime pie when I refer an agent to Travel Experts. I don't know what it is.
Is that their tradition or your favorite pie?
It is one of my favorite pies, and they just seem to key on that one. So to see, key lime pie, key on that one. But it was just a good combination, and of course, both of you then eventually became Virtuoso members on your own, and then had your own agency. So I really sort of feel a little bit of allegiance to your careers, because I've watched you grow, and it's been amazing to see all this happen. Let's talk a little bit about Lindsay. Combined, how many travel advisors do you have now, and will you have as now your combination with Julia's agency?
Yeah, combined with Jetset, we have 40 booking advisors, and we have 5 support staff.
Wow. Okay. So you're getting bigger. And Julia, your agency, I believe, was affiliated with Signature Travel Network, and had been, even though you had been before Virtuoso. And now Lindsay's is still Virtuoso. Now combined, will you be all a member of Virtuoso?
We will. Yes.
No,
so we're going to be selling under the Epperly Travel IATA, which is a Virtuoso member.
Got it. So that's going to be interesting. And you're back to where you were with Virtuoso.
It all comes full circle.
It does. It does. I mean, they're both great groups, and you had your reasons to go to Signature at the time, and now you're back. Now, for both of you, and we'll ask you in turn, what synergies did you see between your two agencies? What did each of you specialize in? And are there strengths that you did not have, Lindsay? Same question to Julia. And I'll start with Julia. What did you see in terms of the synergies?
Yeah, I mean, I think that our book of business is quite similar. And I think the advisor profile, there's also a lot of synergy there. I think Lindsay and my approach as owners and sort of the culture we've worked to foster is very similar. So it sort of seemed like a very natural transition and something that would be seamless to the advisor. What Lindsay brought to the table that we were less successful in developing is really a training program for newer to industry to help them really build their business as an entrepreneur. You know, Jetset had a large IC base. Some of them were very experienced, some newer to industry, but Lindsay takes a very entrepreneurial approach and helps them identify their goals and business plan independent of the Jetset or Epperly structure, which, you know, I commend. I think that that's so significant. I think the other component that Lindsay brought is, you know, having a co-owner, having Jeremy as her partner. He really focuses on operations and the financial side of things, and she is really sales, marketing, training oriented. And then with Cassie and now Andrea, who's managing marketing, and Megan combined, I just knew that they had a dream team on the executive level to support a growing advisor base. So that was a real attractive piece to me.
Now, Lindsay, same question. What were the synergies you saw in Julia's agency?
Yeah, I think from the big picture perspective, honestly, we thought there were synergies to begin with. And when we started peeling back the layers, it was like everything lined up. So to Julia's point, the way that we both lead, the culture fit that we were very intentional about building, we're very committed to boutique agencies and to the entrepreneurs that participate in those agencies. So I think it was really neat when we started talking about the idea of, all right, every single, move that we see being made right now is involving a mega agency of some sort. Right. And that just didn't appeal to either of us. We have these very entrepreneurial dreams, and we knew our teams that they value that. That's why they chose to work with us, right? Is because they get personalized attention. To what Julia is saying, we work with every single one of them, whether they're new to industry or they're a $5 million producer, to help scale them and get to the next level. So, and you just can't do that when you have 1,000 people. Right. So I think it was really important for us to navigate in a way that we could maintain a very boutique culture still, even though the company, or both of them, are growing. So it's how do we grow thoughtfully and intentionally? And I think it was just very, very nice to be able to use our hosting framework, essentially, which is what Jeremy and I built out and launched last year during the pandemic. Right. So essentially what we're doing is we're running Jetset as an affiliate of Epperly Travel. We felt like both brands have stellar reputations. They have great industry relationships. So we didn't want to really touch or affect either of those. So that was the ultimate decision to what Julia said earlier. They will be running their business through Epperly's IATA, but Jetset as a brand will remain intact. No, that's great. So you're out there working under your own brands, which is similar to the mega deal where we had Frosch buying, Valerie Wilson, and those brands will remain distinct. But obviously, Frosch bought Valerie Wilson. Now, I guess to both of you, would this deal have happened if the pandemic had not happened? Lindsay, I'll start with you. That's a great question. We would have loved to have acquired an agency, right? But we just launched on our own in 2019. Epperly had been in business since 2014, but we were a company within a company. So we became an independent Virtuoso agency in 19. And I like to think that 2020 was going to be our year. Of course, we're going to announce that.
Everybody's year.
Right. So at first, I think the pandemic was so leveling, what a year to launch a travel agency, terrible timing. But I really think that it was the catalyst for so much for us. I think it put us in a position to where we really could think about what's important and what strategically we wanted to look like on the other side. So I think if nothing else, the pandemic made us step back and really think through what are our core values? Who are we at the end of the day? Instead of, what we were doing in 2019 was very reactionary. So it was just keep up with the demand. So for nothing else, 2020 gave us the reset that I think we needed to pursue something like this.
No, absolutely. And you used it well. And Julia, the same question. I mean, if we hadn't had the pandemic, would you think something like this could have happened either way?
I mean, I think, yes, the answer is yes. I think, what Lindsay just shared is exactly right. We all had a moment to step back and to get out of the routine and the flow and the hustle and evaluate where we're headed and why we're doing what we're doing and what the industry looks like as a result of this pandemic and how we emerge stronger. And I think, building back better together, I've always been, with Access, it was sort of better together. And I think that, strengthen numbers with the right partnerships, that sort of force multiplier effect, where, the sum is greater than the whole of the parts. I mean, that is exactly what it was with Epperly. So, yes, I think it would have happened regardless. It just was the right opportunity at the right time. And I'm forever grateful for that.
No, that's great. And it's great that you found each other at this time. Lindsay, let's just get the shorthand. Just talk about your development as a travel advisor, how you started, how you became an IC, how you affiliated with a host agency that was a member of Virtuoso, and then becoming a hosted host, and then eventually your own independent agency.
So pretty much wearing all the hats along the way. Yes. So I'm glad you asked that question too, because I think so much of my history is exactly why we built Epperly Travel the way that we did. Because I really wanted to create the host agency that I always wished I had at various stages of my career. So I started at 19. I was still in college, and I started by going to bridal shows. I was selling honeymoons on the side of attending my English classes. Yeah. So I was an independent contractor from the get-go. I launched my own brand because I thought it was really important to brand myself, to control the marketing and the message. And then from there, I realized how passionate I was about mentoring people. I wanted to, when I was about 4 or 5 years into the career, help others avoid a lot of the pitfalls that I had fallen into. So I turned around and built a team. And it was around that point that I re-affiliated with a larger host. It was Entre Travel that I went to. And that's when I launched Epperly. So I ran it as a company within a company.
Sure.
Now, within each of those...
Hosted host, yeah.
Hosted host. So within each of those moments, I was building a lot on my own, and I luckily come from a very entrepreneurial family. I think that being an entrepreneur is in my DNA. So I had a lot of help from outside of the industry when it came to learning those skills. But within the industry, I was doing a lot of things that I didn't really have top-down leadership on, right? I always was kind of looking around thinking, man, I wish someone could just open up and show me how they built a team, or open up and show me how they built and distributed their brand. And I never quite had that. So now within Epperly, those are the things that we're doing. That's why it's business based. And we really say we're not raising travel advisors, we're raising entrepreneurs that sell travel. So whether they are at the very start of their career, or they're, topping 2 million and trying to figure out, how do I hire an assistant, or what do I want to do when I scale out my team? What does that look like? It's essentially one-on-one business coaching, because that is exactly what got me to where I am.
No, that's great, and I've watched you develop with that training program. And truth be told, you've been a columnist for us, and have been showing Entre Travel videos the last month or two, a few months now, and they've been great, and they've been very well received. Julia, the same question for you. I mean, you had Jetset a while back, and boy, I can't remember. It makes us both old if I tell you when we saw each other, because
2006, James.
Yeah, I know, 2006, and you were looking around. So tell us a little bit about the development of Jetset and how you evolved.
Yeah, I mean, I formed Jetset when I was 24, and it came about sort of thinking what my dream job looked like and not knowing how to find it. So I created Jetset with the vision of sort of being a one-stop shop to manage all of the components related to travel, the travel itself and the concierge, really invested in relationship, taking a consultative approach from the beginning. And because I didn't work for an agency prior to founding Jetset, the way that I knew best to actually sort of generate revenue was charging fees, which I think was a novelty back then in 2005.
Some would say it still is a novelty. The pandemic may have converted a few people on that.
Right. I think we've never worked harder for every dollar. And so I first aligned myself with a, very boutique host agency out of Arlington Heights that was not affiliated with the consortia, met you, and then you connected me with travel experts and had a wonderful few years with Susan and Sharon, and then just had this appetite to grow. And at that time had one employee, and we had two more that were hoping to join us. And so we became direct Virtuoso members. At that point, we had the production to qualify and kind of grew from there. And it was very organic, strategic growth, primarily as employees. It was really sort of building a strong in-house team to service a book of business together. Over time, some employees became ICs, some ICs became employees, but we really added about one advisor per year. So pre-pandemic, we were at 16 advisors. And just, it was very similar to Lindsay. I mean, I think we sort of built an agency that challenged norms and developed and designed our own path. And I think that was really something that the industry celebrated and our clients appreciated. And sort of got to a point where you hit that ceiling of complexity and ponder, how do I sustain the growth? And, I've always loved the selling side of travel and designing itineraries. The creativity is what inspires me most. So that was really where the idea of turning over the reins to someone with sizable operational experience and a financial background was hugely appealing.
No, absolutely. And of course, I will always remember you because I did get a key lime pie out of that deal. So that was
I'm
good.
Sorry we didn't get to share it.
I wish you could. It was pretty good, actually. She has a good supplier, Susan. So we'll see. Now let's talk a little bit about the sort of, because both of you developed, I'd say, side businesses, but they both became fairly major businesses to your agency business. So Lindsay, tell us a little bit about your training and education business, the Entre Travel, and describe how that developed and why you launched it.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. And thank you guys for being such a big supporter. You've aired all of our videos, which have been awesome. That was such a labor of love because we wanted to turn around and help other advisors during this time who were probably putting together the pieces from 2020, right? So it was almost like a visual representation of my own therapy sessions that I needed to show other people of how to get through this time. So thank you.
You're expressing your therapy out there to the world.
It was just public therapy. So go back and watch those if you haven't.
Anything we can do to help you get over this, it's fine.
Yeah, and I'm much better now. So Entre Travel, we launched in 2019. And essentially that was something that Jeremy and I went into together and said, well, we're offering this training and mentorship program within Entre Travel. And each class we would only take about 3 or 4 people. But every year that we would offer it, we were getting increasingly more and more. And the last year we offered it, I think we had about 70 or so applicants. And we thought, gosh, we don't want to grow by 70 people overnight. But we have the training portion of this that is, very cut and dry. It's everything that every advisor should know about building an entrepreneurial business as an independent contractor. So how can we actually create that as something that could help the industry as a whole and other advisors, other agency owners that don't have the time to put together a training program could actually utilize that is completely separate from Entre Travel. So that's what we did with Entre Travel. We actually created it as a separate company, a separate entity. Entre uses it as its training portion, as do a few other agencies. But we also have a separate mentorship portion when we're bringing people in. So that's what we advise people to do is you get your training from that because it's something that you can watch on your own time, 12 modules online, go at your own pace. And then you get to learn the skills from your agency that you've chosen that's actually teaching you the mentorship side of things.
No, absolutely. And I'll date myself, but there was a point when travel agencies, a lot of them had travel agency schools, travel schools. And we're talking back in the 80s or even before that. and they kind of disappeared in the 90s, but I think you've effectively created the virtual online school of training and education, which is so necessary today. I mean, there are a lot of great, obviously there's the Travel Institute and the consortia, and most agencies have a lot of training available, but you've created your own, and I think you've done a great job. So that's really essential, and now you still have it. Let's talk to you, Julia, about you also developed a side business, and not so much a side business, it became a fairly major one. You developed the Access Travel app and marketed to agencies and consortia around the country. Talk to us a little bit about what that app was, and how that developed.
Well, and it remains, which is a beautiful thing.
That's right.
So Access was born out of a real need to create something that would capture travel information in real time and not rely on printed PDF documentation, right? Because schedules change, clients will adjust a dining reservation, they'll add in another travel component, oftentimes while they're in destination. And the trip where this really became an absolute need for me was a family of 6 were traveling through Europe for 6 weeks to 6 different countries. And we had multiple different DMCs involved in trying to aggregate all of that information and format it so it was the same font and size with the visuals. And the second we would think that we were ready to print and send them their documents, something would change. And the document, when I actually presented it to the client, was almost 1.5 inches of paper. And so I just thought, they don't want to travel with this binder, and what happens after they travel? It goes on a shelf and it collects dust, and they can't share that travel intelligence with friends readily, and the kids can't interact with the itinerary. And this was, in 2013, I think, was really sort of when apps were becoming more prevalent. And I was using multiple different apps to manage my own travel experience. So I thought, well, what if there's one app that has all of the functionality that you need as a traveler, and that you can preserve that information post-travel, but interact with it on a daily basis during travel? So, we built the sort of MVP and launched the beta product in 2014. And Signature was a very early adopter. They evaluated all the platforms and chose Access at the end of 2014. And then we were in the incubator program with Virtuoso. And now I don't know the latest stats because I sold Access to North Star in 2017. And this is sort of a product that they've combined with Travel 42, their destination guides, and integrated so many additional tools since then. But I think last we were in, I can't even remember how many countries, and I think well over 4,500 customers. I would imagine that's grown significantly, and they've continued to invest in the development and have an in-house team. And it was a tool that I knew the industry needed. We would have never kept it proprietary to Jetset. The cost of developing technology is just simply too significant.
Absolutely.
I think a rising tide lifts all boats. So this is something that I really intended to gift to the industry for those who are interested.
Yeah, well, I remember when Signature adopted your app, and they were famous for creating their own stuff internally, but they chose your app as being the one they needed in that case. And then, yes, I think you were in the incubator program as well. So a lot of other agencies and consortia have had access to this, and it's been a great thing. And so, and I'm happy you got
it's global now with Traveler Made in Europe, really strong adoption in Australia, throughout Africa. And I think the suppliers, Jonathan Epstein with Celebrated was a key partner in sort of showing how this is relevant on the tour operator side of the business as well, because it was really intended to be a collaborative tool.
No, absolutely. So both of you had other businesses that really succeeded very well. Now let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen for the future. Lindsay, what will change about your role in your agency and your training company going forward, if anything?
Yeah. I think my role only becomes more of the role it currently is, right? So I, pre-pandemic, was transitioning out of client work, still dabbling it a little bit with our internal team that took over my book of business, but really in order to focus on leading and growing the company. My strengths and my joy and fulfillment come from casting vision and mentoring and pouring into this business. So that was the role I started transitioning into, and really feel like I've found my stride in it. So I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And the beautiful part of that too is Julia's mentioned having the business partner that I do, my husband. I mean, he is as left-brained as it gets to my right-brained. And so he handles all of the operations, the finance side of things. So we really do work as a partnership in building this together. And that only gets stronger from here.
Yeah, well, don't lose him. I think you guys work well together. So I've met you both, and you're a wonderful couple, and now you're in business. He wasn't in travel, and you dragged him in. He probably will never leave, so you're good.
Yeah. He quit the week that we got married, so it's all we've ever known of marriage. People thought we were crazy.
Well, that's right. Can you work with your spouse? So you've so far, keep it that way. It proved you can, so that's great.
Thank you.
Now, Julia, what will change about your role with this combined agency? What will you be focused on now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I returned to doing what led me to, establish the agency at the outset, which is really, I have a deep passion for travel and exploration. And, am energized by the itinerary design portion. So I'll continue working with my best clients and cultivate new business for the combined entity, support Lindsay and Jeremy wherever there's a need, continue to help with mentoring, doing consultation calls with advisors. I mean, I'm really here to, facilitate the growth in whatever way I can. We're sort of respecting Lindsay and Jeremy's vision. But I returned to selling. I'm now an IC of Jetset.
There you go. Well, you're back to the core reason to be a travel advisor is to sell and to get out there and support your clients and provide the vacations of their dreams, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Now, for both of you, what do you see as the future for luxury-focused travel agencies? Do you think this business is going to come back big time as we emerge from the pandemic? I'll start with you, Lindsay.
Yeah, going to means it's already has come back big time. I mean, I think anyone who is in the luxury FIT sphere, especially right now, is seeing it at an all-time high. Right. So I am more confident and more optimistic than ever that this business will continue just accelerating. I think we're going to not miss a beat from where we left off in 2019.
No, that's great. I totally agree with you. And Julia, same question. And you're going to say, nah, I think it's the business is just going to tank, right? No, I think.
I beg to differ.
Yeah.
Well, I think industry experts have been forecasting that 2022 will far exceed 2019, which was the biggest year the industry's enjoyed. Right. And I was on a roundtable earlier this week, and one of the bigger brands mentioned that ADR is up 23% above 2019, which I think is phenomenal. You hear banks talking about 3.5, trillion, I think, in savings as a result of the pandemic. And I think in the luxury sector, the demand is there. The spend is at an all-time high. I think people are traveling more the way that we wish they had previously, which is sort of longer stays in destination, having a more immersive experience, less sort of ticking boxes. I think currently partially because of the challenges of moving between countries and the requirements in each. But I mean, I think I said to the team throughout the pandemic, we are so fortunate that we focused on luxury because it has been the first to recover. And I mean, I think many advisors are planning multiple itineraries at once for the same client, just now that they can think a year to 2 years out. So it's an exciting time. I think that there's a level of exhaustion that hasn't yet been contemplated or addressed. But I mean, it's exciting. I think that, the pendulum swung so far to the left and now is equally far to the right. So hopefully we'll find balance in there at some point.
No, absolutely. Well, may never. This is the travel agency business. Balance is not an issue anymore. You think it's not going to be busy, then you worry it's too busy. So that's the issue. Now, for both of you, what lessons have you learned during the pandemic about operating a travel agency and building a travel business? I'll start with you, Lindsay.
Yeah. What lessons have we learned? I mean, I think we all got the MBA we never asked for from 2020, right? Like I learned way more than I intended. We were additionally lucky to learn from Julia in this acquisition. I have been just so smitten with like getting to watch someone who was in business for longer than us and has put together such a beautiful, beautiful entity in Jetset. So I personally have learned not just from the year, but also from Julia and from her stewarding us with Jetset. That's been amazing. But I think one of the really cool things is just, when we came came together starting talking about this was we felt like we could instill a lot of optimism in others based off of what we had both been doing during the pandemic. And for Epperly, we learned that when we were hyper focused on that day and time right there, and it felt like things were crumbling apart around us, then that's the way we reacted, right? Like it felt like it was, and so it was. So instead, we started turning our attention to what does this look like in 3, 4, 5 years, not just Epperly Travel, but the future of the travel industry. And how can we be a pivotal player in rebuilding that and instilling faith and optimism in our team and in our industry? And that's where things really clicked and changed for us.
Well, with Entre Travel, that was what that's all about. Is
exactly a travel agent rebuilding series,
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really did. It helped us learn to take the long view approach and to know that made it so much easier at that point to keep our team employed and to not let anyone go and to actually hire mid-pandemic and to make this acquisition. Like we knew with confidence, this is going to come back and we can be strategic and wise about how we navigate it.
Julia, same question. What have you learned from the past year? I mean, that's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the exercise I kept returning to was the TAMS homework from the fall of 2019, which
another Dr. Bob project, right?
Yes, and Eric Marinoff, contemplate a 25% reduction in revenue. What decisions would you make in preparation? I'm like, never. 25%, that can't happen.
No, never.
And the focus then was marketing and growing revenue, right? So I think that we've all learned to become more mindful of expenses, right? In our personal life, in our professional life, what do we value? What do we want to prioritize? You know, like Lindsay said, preparing for the future. But what I learned more than anything personally and as a business owner and as a mother is like the power of presence and just really learning to be patient. Right. I think for many of us, it was sort of, well, what do we need to be doing now? And you would start to put plans in motion towards something, and then it would shift again. And I think just really learning that, like, I think as an owner, you're always preparing sort of a 5-year business plan and what comes next. And we all just learned there's so much unpredictability right now. You just kind of had to be in flow. And so I think that that's something that I intend to take with me out of this period is really prioritization, conscious choice, investing in the things that are of value. Mm-hmm. And yes, I mean, I think gratitude. Lindsay is someone who is so gracious and I think leads with such positivity and optimism, but also from a place of very deep gratitude. So I think that happy to still be here, right?
Lindsay is the most pessimistic person I know. So I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, boy, she has no hope at all.
None.
Whatever. And I'll stick with you, Julia. What else? Is there anything else you want to get out to our viewers about this combination, about Julia, about what's going forward, why you did it, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I really celebrate the Jetset team and look forward to getting to know the Epperly family at large better, because I think the advisors who endured during the past year, I mean, their tenacity, the determination, the resilience, I think real character was formed during this time. And like Lindsay said, we do have such entrepreneurs within, the 40 advisor base. And I really celebrate them. This was not an easy time. I think that we banded together. We, shifted from biweekly calls to weekly calls. We went from having calls to having Zoom. Their culture and ours and just our operations have been virtual largely since the outset. And so I think that was something where we were less affected when things sort of went home-based. We've been home-based, so that wasn't any interruption to operations. But I think just really fostering connection, community, supporting one another, that's something that I think we doubled down on, and I know Epperly plans to continue.
Absolutely. And Lindsay, I'll let you close it out about if there's anything else you want to get out to the folks that are watching out there about this very interesting combination It's a very hopeful combination. It's not all about the big guys with the Frasches buying the Valerie Wilsons, which also was a great combination, but it can be done at the boutique level as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I hope that gets the message across of, this business that you're creating is yours, and you get to make of it what you want of it. And so I think that's been a really neat message that Julie and I have both been able to come together and send with, Epperly set our mind to acquiring and growing thoughtfully. Jetset set their mind to, building thoughtfully in a way to where they evolve to the next level. And we both managed to achieve that through this. And to piggyback on her point too of community, I think that both of these companies have already come together so beautifully because we both believe in community over competition. So those advisors who learned so much last year are open books within our network, and everyone is learning from each other. And I think it's just a really beautiful thing. So if I could teach anything from this, it's to not hold those cards so close to your vest. Like it's really meaningful when you're able to kind of open up and empower others. And that's what we very much hope to achieve through this.
Well, I want to thank both of you for taking the time to speak to us about this wonderful combination. Again, as I mentioned, I've been watching both of you, and it just dates me from 15 to 20 years now, watching both of your agencies grow, watching you, both of your businesses grow and growing as travel agencies, travel advisors. And it's been great to watch. And you're still in the business. You were they were, at that time, we didn't have a lot of younger people coming into the business, or it seemed not to be. And you were some of the first to really recognize this is a great business to be in. And people say, yeah, well, they're travel advisors. They don't exist anymore. It's all online, and you've proven them all wrong. So
we're lifetimers. So
you have committed.
We're recruiting a lot of new talent and younger talent. So I think that this industry has great staying power.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, thank you so much, and again, good luck to both of you. And we'll be looking for you on the road. I'm sure I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Jane. Wonderful to see you.
I'm James Schillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.